Well, yeah, certainly. I mean, it was our fault. We made a mistake. The spotter said it was clear. It wasn't clear, and, I didn't want to tear my car up, tear his car up either. I respect everybody, and I demand respect. And, I apologized to the guy when he came over the car, explained to him what happened, and then he took it to another level when he started calling me an idiot and whatever else. And I don't appreciate that. I'm not going to take it. I told him how I felt. I called him out. He didn't show. And so, I'm good with it if he's good with it, but I'm not going to be disrespected by no means.
Yeah, I guess I had a dinner date at Applebee's last night that I didn't find out about until it was too late. It's a shame. Love their riblets and boneless wings, but...
All right, folks, welcome back to Meet Me at Applebee's, your number one unrefined motorsports podcast. It's Brian here once again with Rob and Ashley. We're here to shit talk Martinsville and get ready for Darlington. Folks, how we doing this week?
Very good. I'm doing very good. Just happy to be here for the 100th time, folks. That's right, episode 100, our 100th birthday. How you doing, True Love? How you joining the Century Club today with all of us?
I'm good, except for the haze of pollen in Georgia that is taking over everything. So I can't wait for y'all to come down here for that.
I thought it was bad up here, but then my brother-in-law was sending me videos of North Carolina right now. There's just a fucking Ninja Turtle
Yellow
green
haze.
mist everywhere. Yeah,
I don't think I've been down here. Usually, for Mother's Day, that's May, and it's not as bad. But I'm usually on Zyrtec every day anyways for my cat, so I'll just double or triple up, and I'll be fine.
You're going to triple that.
Yeah. Cool, something to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so we got racing to talk about, Martinsville, and it was way more of a shit show than I think we were all expecting this time around. I guess we're gonna begin with Friday as always with the trucks. This race wasn't actually as bad. I think again. Maybe the
it
truck
wasn't great.
It wasn't great.
Goofball shit for sure. But.
It wasn't great, but it wasn't nearly as bad as Saturday. I would argue that it might have been the best race of the week again.
Yeah.
But that's again not saying a whole lot. But trying to think what the hell even happened. Obviously
Luke Baldwin made his first start for Thor Sport. He was fastest in practice. Completely fucked his qualifying lap, so he had to start towards the back. And then made about 3 or 4 runs from the back to the front, but kept wrecking or getting wrecked. Definitely a lot of speed out of that kid, and I think everyone in New England knows that, and I'm very excited to see what else he's got going forward, but certainly not the night he was looking forward to, I don't think, especially considering how it went at Thompson the following day. Probably not the best weekend of young Luke Baldwin's life.
But that's people will notice that he was fast, and nobody expects him to win in his first race necessarily.
Exactly,
So,
It's better than Cody Dennison's first truck start.
Yeah, Cody Dennison made his first start. Fuck that guy. I did listen to his radio just because I wanted to hear how stupid he was, and throughout the race, he just was like, they were telling him like basic stuff like don't run over the choose cone and you're running too far behind the pace car and this, that, and the other. He didn't know what the hell he was doing. So, that guy has hardly any record in any sort of racing at all. Like I think he raced like a season or two at late model. So, he's also a goober manosphere YouTuber, and I think that's how he got this position was just like through the Timcast. So I just that guy sucks, and I hate even talking about him. But he did make his first awful start. So what else happened?
We just gave him the only press he got out of the whole weekend too. So
pretty much. Luke Riggs got into it a few times with some people. I'm trying to think that he was he battling for the lead, and
Lane was up there. Lane Riggs was up there for most of it. And he probably had a shot to win, I think, but that's not how it panned out.
There was him and, what was it, Heim or something, that they both spun with like 20 to go or around that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Heim and Honeycutt
that's
each other in the lead.
Yeah, that's it.
Another strong showing for Caden Honeycutt, too. I think,
that was a little surprising, but good.
I mean, I feel like
it was Majeski and Honeycutt.
There you go, yeah.
Oh, okay. Get them all mixed up.
I think I get Honeycutt and Leland Honeyman mixed up since their names are both what they are. And, fuck, I already forgot his name. Not Honeyman. Caden Honeycutt's pretty talented. I mean, he's a snowball derby winner. I think he's probably a little better than people in the NASCAR sphere give him credit for, at least the fans anyway. I think we're going to see a lot more out of him.
Yeah. And then Daniel...
Michael Waltrip had a great quote he was talking about Corey Haim's white gloves and white suit, and he said he's got white speed. It's like, okay,
perfect. That's usually what color it is. The drugs is what I'm talking about.
So.
And yeah, I guess I'm trying to think of anything else.
Well, Daniel Hemrick won. That was something.
Daniel Hemrick won. I don't love him, but I don't hate him either. So.
Oh, I love him.
Do you?
I do. Just because, I mean, obviously he hasn't had great stats on the track, but just from our friends that, like Jay used to work at RCR with Hemrick, and then Jeremy worked at Colleague with him, so I've had multiple interactions with Hemrick in the garage, and he is always, hands down, one of the absolute nicest guys you will ever cross paths with in the garage.
Yeah, I've heard he's a great guy. Yeah.
Jay did not like it when I called out Hemrick for ripping off Carl Edwards' backflip.
Well, he's always done the backflip, but to be fair, he's only got to do it twice.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
So who would know?
Yeah, beats me.
But he did do a good one.
He did.
And they debuted the Triple Truck Challenge this week, so Hemrick got a $50,000 bonus, and if he can win at Bristol, he'll get $150,000, and if he wins at Rockingham, he'll get $500,000. So
damn.
How come they do anything like that for Cup Series? I mean, Xfinity's got the
thing this summer. The
bracket challenge.
Yeah.
It's not the same though. It's not nearly as cool as like on track stuff, like in the moment on track stuff.
Some other thing to take away from what's actually going on track.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that and all the shit off track, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. But yeah, I enjoyed the truck race. Again, it's a little sloppy, but I mean that's to be expected with the truck series at Martinsville, and certainly series, not anywhere near what we saw on Saturday. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, the truck series has been pretty on point this year. I mentioned that like a lot of the sketch balls have moved up to other series, so there's not as many lunatics out there anymore. So the racing's been quite a bit better. So
my favorite,
Saturday.
I was just gonna say my favorite quote from the group chat this weekend was Rob saying that Tyler Ankrum looks like a Chucky doll.
Well, he really did coming out of that car, hair all messed up and just round and swollen for some reason. I've never seen him from that particular angle. Yeah, and the harsh light of a Fox camera. I was a little bit shocked.
But yeah, now we got to get to Saturday, which it's been the talk of the NASCAR world the last few days. I mean, just definitely the worst race of the year, I think, of all the series. I would say.
Worst race of all time.
I don't know about that, but it was pretty bad. Just lots of heavy, unnecessary contact. Austin Hills.
The first 2/3 wasn't terrible, I don't think.
Yeah, I guess, but I mean,
they didn't start their bullshit till about 100 to go.
Yeah, it was the last third of the race that like every 10 laps there was a caution. It just dragged it out, and everybody's running into each other. Austin Hill's taking out his own teammates, and Jesse Love then also might have punched his own radiator out, slamming into was it not Heim? Who was it that they got into? Like they spun and then like they bumper card each other for a minute, and then like Jesse Love punched out his radiator.
It was Kloppel.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was mad about that one.
Yep. Mm-hmm. But then, Sammy Smith, who I think the fun fact I learned on Saturday in the midst of all this was Sammy was born on the day of the Killdozer incident, which if you don't know what the Killdozer incident is, I don't know what rock you've been living under, but go look it up. It's an amazing story of a man scorned by his city and taking revenge in the best way he could.
By building a giant fucking bulldozer out of a front end loader and completely leveling half the town. But look that up.
It's a great story. But Sammy did his own impression of the Killdozer, running in from 3 car lengths back in the final corner to take out Taylor Gray, who was having a killer day. Like it was his race to lose, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, so let's set this up for the folks if you didn't watch this. Again, whole bunch of restarts, cautions, breeding cautions, all that bullshit. They lined up for the first of the final 3 restarts with Taylor Gray in the lead. I forget how many laps he led, but he was having a career day for sure.
He led over half of them, I think.
Sammy Smith was behind him in third, and Sammy gave him a pretty good shot, ran him up out of the groove, and got under him. I don't know if that one qualifies as egregious, but certainly aggressive and kind of what we'd seen for most of the race. Anyway, there's another wreck, and they line up again, and so Taylor smartly surrenders second place to get behind Sammy Smith to do the exact same thing, and he does a much more respectful job of getting Sammy Smith out of the way. Gives him a nice little tap, sends him up the racetrack, gets underneath, and I forget what happened. What was the last caution? Who wrecked who? Fucking.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Yeah,
It doesn't matter. it does not matter at all.
Anyway, these assholes line up, and it's just a repeat of the original restart
Well, hold
that
on.
caused all this.
We also failed to mention there was a 3 or 4 car wreck, and there was a short red flag to clean it up. And in the midst of this, apparently Taylor Gray flipped off Sammy Smith, and this hurt Sammy's feelings so bad that he had to freight train himself in the final turn to try to pass Taylor to win.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's what I was getting to. Sammy just absolutely ramrodded the shit out of him on the
Fucked up the
restart.
front of his own car so bad.
Yeah, didn't even try to brake, it seems. Just slammed into the back, fucked his own race up, took out Justin Allgaier. Also, we were talking about money being handed out. This was a Dash for Cash race, so there was a $50,000 bonus, or $100,000, excuse me, $100,000 bonus going to the winner. So that's 2 of Dale's cars wrecked with $100,000 flushed down the old shitter. To give the win to Austin Hill, of all people.
Yep.
Plus that 100,000 on
Plus
top of
the
that.
100,000.
Yep. And, at least I scored a buck or two off of my boy Sheldon Creed finishing second place again. He added
I was
another
going to
jewel to
let
his
you
crown.
say it, yeah. And through the smoke came Sheldon Creed for yet another podium finish. Incredible.
I'm going to be so bummed if he wins on Saturday and none of y'all are there, and I just get to fucking have this moment by myself in the stands.
Alone. Yeah.
Yep. Well,
That
you-
seems fitting.
You won't.
It does.
Good thing is that won't happen. But if
Hey,
you bet
listen.
on top 3, you might walk away with a little bit of cash there, because that's almost guaranteed to happen.
Yeah.
There's also RCR's 100th Xfinity Series win.
Yep.
And we learned that Austin Hill and Sheldon Creed are friends now.
They patched
and
it up.
They go drinking together.
Yeah, they probably went to the bowling alley in Martinsville together after the race to celebrate their big 1-2 finish.
Probably so. And then they got back to Charlotte and probably went to Saeed's.
Yeah, so all is right in the world of the Xfinity Series with Austin Hill winning and Sheldon in second, I guess, and all the other jerk-offs behind.
Also, Sammy knocked himself out of being eligible for a Dash for Cash next week. So.
Yeah, the hits just keep coming. And this kid's been piled on social media and by everybody, and it's fair. I think he certainly earned it. but let's not pretend this is a Sammy Smith problem.
No, and it's been talked about. It's a whole series thing, and I think the big talking point with everybody is this is what happens when you create this when you're in scenario. Like, people are going to do shit like this, and also NASCAR not really doing anything in the moment to penalize anybody. Now, in saying that, like, since we recorded late, we did catch the fact that Sammy was penalized 50 points and $25,000, I believe, which is fair. I mean, it's more or less a suspension
consistent.
without suspending him, and it's consistent with the other shit that's happened this year. And Junior himself, he's like, we're not, whatever NASCAR wants to do, I'm not fighting it. And I did listen to, at least the beginning of his podcast before we recorded, and he said he talked to Sammy, and he told him, like, he's like, people think you're like this spoiled, stuck-up rich kid, right? And you gave everybody reason to believe that by doing what he did.
I believe it.
Now, and Junior's like, it's going to take all year to work back from this. This isn't just a year. You forget about it next week. Like, he's got to fix his reputation now. And I already wasn't a fan of him to begin with. So
Yeah, for being a spoiled rich kid.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's talented, but yeah, a lot of these guys are talented. So and they do similar shit. So again, my big takeaway. Sorry, True Love. But my big takeaway is that I hate that NASCAR can't do something about this in the moment.
Yeah.
Cars Tour, even though it kind of screwed over some guys this weekend at Wake County, they sent people to the back Landon Huffman got sent to the back, even though a wreck wasn't his fault, and even the guy who caused it was starting to say, that was my fault, my bad. Doesn't matter. Those are the rules. You go to the back. If the Cars Tour can do it, if every short track can do it, NASCAR can certainly figure out a way to make a decision in the moment that's going to be impactful, so the fans don't have to go home and wait for whatever fucking speeding ticket or, parking violation they're going to give these guys.
Yeah.
Sorry, Trula, what were you saying?
Oh, I was just going to say, I've never seen someone lose their shit to that degree over getting flipped off. Like, if you're going to be a race car driver, you need to toughen up just a tad.
Yeah, well, they did try to toughen up a little bit, at least for the cameras. Taylor went down to see Sammy Smith at the Infield Care Center and kind of stood about 10 feet apart. And Sammy didn't get...
Also got
Sammy
himself a fine for that.
He did $2,000 for the privilege.
Well, we missed it apparently. I guess they were... excuse me. Taylor actually went into the Infield Care Center and they were like screaming at each other in there before they even came outside. So
nice.
We didn't see that obviously.
Yeah, Sammy didn't act too hard until a bunch of security got in between him. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So then he started to throw his little arms around and all that. So I thought that was funny.
I mean, I don't know a ton about Taylor, but just looking at him,
that's a big man.
Yeah, I guarantee he whipped the shit out of Sammy. So
what was it Jamie Little said last year, that he's a big, thick young man?
He's a thick man. Thick boy, whatever the fuck she said, yeah.
And I think the general consensus from the industry is that I wouldn't want to fucking fight Taylor Gray either. Tanner, sure, but not Taylor. That's
Yep. Also, too, we didn't mention, so after the race and everybody's celebrating, the whole RCR team, everybody's cussing up a storm, and like the CW sensors just missed everything.
They're so bad.
It was very funny, but there was just a lot of bleeps right after a bunch of swear words came out.
Yeah,
so
a full 3 or 4 seconds. This is the second week in a row of at least of that happening, and I love it. Just F-bombs flying out to your Meemaws TV. I just think it's funny. Go ahead.
I got a little worried there for a minute because I was truly afraid that the CW in my area was going to change the programming at 8 o'clock because the race went on for so long past the scheduled time. But thankfully they didn't, so it's close.
Shout out to Brennan Poole getting a 4th place finish in one of the Sam Hunt cars, I believe, right? Or no, he drives for, Tommy Joe.
Tommy Joe, yeah, Alpha Prime. So he's in the Dash for Cash next week with a pretty cool car. He's got a throwback to Gordon's Looney Tunes car, and he's even got his own little Looney Tunes caricature on there, so that's pretty
cool.
Neat.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, Brennan's one of those guys that I don't think really gets enough credit. His career kind of got derailed by the whole DC Solar Ganassi situation a few years ago, and it never really came back. I don't know where he would have landed in the conversation, but he was certainly pretty quick, and we never really got to see it come to fruition. So it's nice to see somebody who kind of spent 40 years in the wilderness come back and get a good finish, even if it was a chaotic one.
Yeah, and Alpha Prime's been Alpha Prime's been running a little bit faster this year, even though Retzloff missed a race. But we'll see how he does this weekend. But moving on to Sunday, so. During the pre-race ceremonies. Of course, Martinsville hot dogs are always a big thing. Everybody always talks about them. It's one of the talking points of going there. And naturally, you're going to have some of the TV personalities eat a hot dog on camera. Well, Chris Myers,
never seen one before, apparently.
Yeah, like an absolute psychopath, bit the hot dog in the middle.
Dude, he did not want to eat that.
Tab.
He did not want to eat that hot dog.
Yeah, I don't know if he was not trying to get anything on himself, or if he wasn't trying to look like he was filleting a hot dog. But I don't know what the hell he was thinking there. But that was absolute.
He's my least favorite member of the Fox broadcast team anyway. So.
Yeah, well, at least he's only doing pre-show shit now. So.
Well, he's down in the pits with Jamie Mack, and that's where that was actually mid-race when that happened, or a little earlier on. I don't know if it was pre-race or not, but it doesn't matter. Out of all the ways he could have handled that situation, he chose the worst one.
Yep.
By just biting a hot dog about a third of the way up, right from the top. So,
I don't even think he got any meat.
No. He just rubbed the slaw all over his lips, and he didn't get his suit dirty, which was good.
Speaking of hot dogs, Burt Myers made his start.
Yes, he
In
did.
the 50 car this weekend, and mere minutes before getting in the car for 400 laps, he ate a hot dog. I was like, wow, that is.
Yeah, somebody
A
gave him
bold move.
somebody gave him a hot dog in a bag and put it down. And after the race was over, same thing happened. Someone brought him a hot dog and he put that shit right in the old locker immediately. So, yeah, I was.
That's not the refreshment I'd be looking for right out of the car, but I mean, hey, good for him.
Yeah, I was stoked for Burt Myers to be out there. I talked about it on our Instagram a little bit and shouted him and Team Amerivet out, and they sent me the strong arm emoji in response, so that was cool.
Nice. I didn't realize that his grandfather won the very first paved race ever at Martinsville, which I thought was cool.
Yeah,
Interesting.
deep history means a lot, especially to the short track folks. It was cool to see, even though they were running like, at the back all day, but still ahead of Casey Mears.
Yeah,
That's something.
That's something.
But as far as the race itself, I mean, Chase Elliott started off strong. They were on the option, or not the option. Well, you get the red option tires, and I definitely think this would have been a better race if they had both sets.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because it was, again, nobody can fucking pass, nobody can do anything. There really wasn't nearly as much contact in the Cup races as there was in the other two races at all.
Well, part of me wonders if it's because these guys actually respect each other a little bit more and it's a different standard, or if it is just the fact that it's difficult to get around to the cars there.
I think it's probably the latter because, Junior did point out that Eric Jones did the exact same thing that Sammy did, but for 20th place at one point. So.
Oh, yeah, he jacked up. Who was that? Was it Allmendinger?
He was beefing with Allmendinger, yeah.
Boy, he hit him so hard.
Knocked
Comically
some
hard.
weight out of his car, apparently.
Seriously.
DQ'd his 24th finishing position.
Yeah, speaking of having a bad day on account of knocking some shit out, in the pits, Josh Berry got, it was Bubba Wallace who got into him, right? Coming out of the pits?
Yeah, well, the thing is, though, I mean, yeah, Bubba Wallace, no, he got into, whatever. They got into each other on pit road, leaving the pit stalls, and everybody was thinking that that's what caused the battery problem. Then Austin Cindric was having the same issues, and so much so that they ran out of batteries and he had to park the car.
Interesting.
So I think there was just something going on with the Penske car, because even I guess the Wood brothers themselves were like, no, that didn't do it. Like the contact had nothing to do with it. They had some battery issues. So that was definitely a Penske thing. Speaking of Penske, Blaney had to start in the back and did a good job of making his way up front, but kind of stalled out around 10th place and ended up finishing 11th, I believe.
I mean, you could pass. There's no question about it. And when you look at the loop data, there was a lot more competition than you've seen in the previous few Martinsville races.
It wasn't
great.
as good as a fall race.
No, not at all.
Like,
but it's certainly better than the first few rounds at Martinsville with the Gen 7 car, or next gen, whatever you call it.
That's fair.
It wasn't when I saw William Byron win, I can tell you that, because that was the fucking worst thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
I'd rather eat a hot dog right down the middle like Chris Myers did than ever experience that shit again.
Ty Gibbs was having a little bit better day than he has been.
Yeah.
But he and Tyler Reddick were getting into it with each other and had at least one or two cautions where one of them spun each other out. And Ty had the gall to call Reddick a little shit.
Huh.
Like,
I think
granted,
he said
they're
little
both
fucker.
Little fucker.
Yeah, little fucker. They're both very tiny men.
3'8", the two of them.
Yeah, I mean, I've stood next to Tyler Reddick, and I think he's like 5'5" or 5'6".
If you stacked them on each other's shoulders and put a trench coat on them, you'd have a normal-sized man standing right next to you. So, but yeah, Ty was threatening to go down and you better keep that guy away from me after the race, is what he said on the radio, which is
And
fucking
after the
hilarious.
race, Reddick came directly up to him. So
Yeah. Tyler Reddick's got a temper too. I don't know if y'all remember him going up to, I think it was Cole Custer in an Xfinity race a few years ago, and
little squabble.
scary eyes he's got. So I wouldn't piss off Tyler Reddick.
But yeah, in the end, our old buddy Andy Newsom was at the track, which meant Denny Hamlin was going to return to victory lane. He led the majority of the race and really just kind of ran away with it. Bubba Wallace was up there. He was fast. He finished third, and Larson finished second, but nobody could touch
Larson
Hamlin at the end.
finished fifth.
Fifth, yeah.
Okay. Well, who the hell? Bell
was
finished second.
Yeah,
That's
Bailey
true.
was fourth.
Yeah. But yeah, Denny kind of ran away with it, and good for Denny. I mean, I like Denny enough, and I'm glad to see him back in victory lane and showing he can still do it. And everybody was kind of worried the crew chief stuff would be an issue, and he got his sponsor sorted out, and it seems like the crew chief stuff is working just fine. So, good for him. He doesn't have to worry about the playoffs now, and he can just go back to dealing with his lawsuit and his
all the other stuff he's got
incoming child and all the other bullshit he's got going on. So
Tied Rusty Wallace for 11th all time with 55 wins apiece. So.
Yeah,
that's a big deal.
And he wants to get to 60, and it seems like it's feasible. But then you hear that, like, Gordon's last win was when he was 41, and Jimmy Johnson was 42, and Denny's already 44, But compared to even like say Keselowski, I mean he's way more competitive for his age than other guys. So we'll see what he's got left in the tank. But he doesn't seem to be slowing down much. So
yeah, about 40 laps to go. I got a text from friend of the program, Kyle Armstrong, who also found our Darf of the Week this week, such as tradition. I think he's found more Darf of the Week candidates for us than anyone else, so it's only fitting we have one for the 100th show, but we'll get to that in a second. Anyway, he texted me with about 40 laps to go and goes like, is Andy Newsom here? Because we're about to see Daniel Hamlin win, aren't we? And I was like, he is and you are, and certainly that's what happened.
Yep.
Andy was very pleased.
Of course, very, very happy for Andy. I'm also very happy for these two guys. They were going to commercial break at one point, and True Love caught this. But like, they showed, Fox shows a lot of crowd shots, and for some reason, apropos of nothing, no explanation or anything, just two white-haired hosses. Like one sitting in the stands with a Chase shirt and another one with overalls and a Corona sleeveless T-shirt.
His doppelganger.
Both with just these angry looks on their faces, and that's it. They just went to commercial.
Yeah.
They didn't even go to commercial. They went back to the booth, and the booth was just like silent, like, and they never acknowledged those two guys at all, and just went on with their lives. It was.
Y'all ever seen that episode of the X-Files where there's like identical twins, and if they get close to each other, they just automatically start fighting, and chaos breaks out around them? It was in the Agent Doggett years, if I remember correctly, so it wasn't like classic X-Files, but that's what I would imagine happening here if those two guys met up, so it's probably for the best. We would have ended up with a Final Destination Sharknado-type racetrack situation. Mm-hmm. But yeah, these guys look cool. That's what Brian and I are going to look like at Darlington in 15 years. So come get the sneak preview this weekend as we start the journey together.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I was just going to say something I noticed in this race where Austin Dillon and Ty Dillon were running next to each other all race long.
Trunk to tail.
Yeah, and I was curious where they were in points, and I looked, and Austin's 28th in points, and Ty was 29th, but by the end of the race, Ty has moved up to 25th, and Austin to 27th, so I'm pulling for Ty in this little brotherly battle.
Yeah.
Oh, as we all are, of course.
I mean, Ty's been, I won't say he's been fast, but it's been a vast improvement.
Yeah,
he's seen previously. So
he's definitely surprising as far as where he's on the track, where he is on the track most races. So good for him. I mean, Colleague's definitely not been what they were a few years ago.
No.
But
yeah, he got top 15. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Speaking of stats you don't want.
I was gonna say we're getting in the stats portion here.
Ty Gibbs. We mentioned this on the show last week that this was coming up, but Ty Gibbs has surpassed J.J. Yaley for the driver who has gone the most races in a Joe Gibbs car without achieving a win. I don't think that's necessarily as damning as people are trying to make it out to be, but certainly not a stat you want.
Yeah, still not great.
Yeah, not good at all.
No.
And I mean, I think it definitely begs the question of, how much longer will that go on? I obviously he's got a much longer runway than anybody else in that position. Like Suarez got fired pretty quick. Even fucking Eric Jones got fired pretty quickly. He only got 1 or 2 wins at Gibbs. So if he did not have his name on the building, I don't think this would last for much longer than this year. But fortunately,
so.
Ty's. He's got some stake in the team. He is the Toyota version of Austin Dillon. So I guess we'll see how it goes, but certainly I don't think that was the weekend he wanted, even though he came in 13th, which is his best finish in about what feels like 15 years.
Yeah. Another stat, though, that I know both Rob and I were excited to see continue. Ryan Preece got his 3rd straight top 10.
Yep.
Great to see.
Got to keep doing it. Just got to keep doing it.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying last week. The qualifying just isn't that great. If you get 10 spots higher, then that might put you in position to win because of the slow crawl kind of nature of how that team operates. So it's getting better. I think Darlington will probably see more of the same. I would hope. But certainly bodes well for Ryan Preece in the future if he keeps this up, especially with this late breaking news about the whole Rick Ware charter situation.
We'll get to that in a second. And then, we might as well talk about it now because the last stat we have kind of leads into our DARF of the week. We already talked about the Sammy Smith news. Another news item that broke before the show started. Rick Ware Racing is being sued by Legacy Motorsports over they were trying to purchase a charter from Rick Ware, and apparently they changed the wording on the contract. It was supposed to start in 2027, and Legacy changed the wording to 2026, and then Rick Ware signed it anyways and then decided to renege on the deal. So now they're suing over that, and another report came out stating that in the court documents, Legacy says Rick Ware is like floundering financially and can barely keep cars on the track, which leads me to believe that Rick Ware is just going to get out of Cup altogether. I mean, he's already got other teams and other forms of motorsports that are doing better.
The NHRA team is doing well. The MotoGP team is doing well. But basically everything else is going pretty well.
Yeah, and, my first thought was, well, why does Legacy need a 3rd charter? My first thought was maybe they're going to be the flagship team for a new OEM, but then also it was brought up that, this could be another Toyota situation where Toyota's willing to dump more money in the team if they get another charter, and then also have a 3rd car for whoever they want next.
Yeah.
Regardless.
I mean, it could be as simple as them just wanting to buy it and lease it so they can make some money.
Could be, but then if they lease the charter, then they're out of charters.
Well, they have 2 already.
No, they only have 1.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rick Ware. Yeah.
Yeah, Legacy has 2.
Right. I'm saying Legacy. If they buy one, they can lease it out to somebody else and make money off of it. So.
I mean, I guess.
Not
but
the best plan.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like it's necessarily worth it.
No, but
not with the market value being kind of flat on those. So, that's an interesting story. Not quite as interesting as the 2311 front row lawsuit, but.
Yeah,
strong
words coming from a team that can barely finish in the top 25.
Well, they've, John. Not that I love John Hunter, but he's definitely been running in the top 20 a lot more this season. And Eric Jones hasn't necessarily had a great season, but it's surprising that Nemechek even has like 1 or 2 top 10s, I think, at this point.
Yeah,
but,
when you should have stuck with Corey LaJoie as your driver. That kind of says all it needs to be said, because I don't think they'd be having the year they'd be having if they would have gone that direction.
So, I hate to say that's
lots
fair.
Of fans, that reminds me that lots of fans this weekend reminded Corey that he passed up that Daniel Hemrick 19 truck ride.
Yep. Well, he said he responded and he said, "Prayer told me that wasn't the way to go." So Prayer, aka his own pride, I would say. Yeah. That's fine. Just we don't want you on the track anyways, Corey. It's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that leads us into our final stat, which leads us into the DARF of the week. Hendrick Motorsports technically has all 4 positions in the top 4.
Yep.
Technically, also Christopher Bell is actually 4th because he has 3 wins.
Right, but points wise, it's a tie for 4th and 5th.
But that does lead us into our DARF of the week, which we mentioned came from our friend Kyle Armstrong. And Rob, I'll let you take this.
Yeah, so obviously Hendrick having a very good year. 3 cars. Well, I'm sorry, Chase hasn't won yet, but all of these cars are within striking distance of a win anytime they go out there. There's no question about it.
The Clash.
He did win the Clash. That's right. That's why I stumbled there, because I knew I saw something that looked like a win. But Hendrick is as good as it gets right now. Again, they're occupying the top 5 in points right now. Top 4 if you don't count Christopher Bell being a dog. By all accounts, doing really well for themselves to do that out of that many cars. And Kyle Armstrong was listening to Sirius XM. I don't know what show it was. I would assume it was Dave Moody. Because I can't imagine this one went through to any other show. But there was a guy who called in, and I don't have the exact text of it. He was complaining about how bullshit it is and that Hendrick Motorsports is just not running good. And they need to fire their crew chiefs and really get their shit together if they want to be taken seriously. Which I'm assuming this guy's an Alex Bowman fan who just watched Martinsville, and that's it. But,
Yeah.
Top 4 in points. Even just being in the top 4 or top 5 is pretty good. When it's all of your cars up there, that qualifies as in fact a good start. So this guy's a fucking idiot and our dog for the week.
There's a lot of notes. So
his punishment is going to be to finish Chris Meyer's hot dog.
That's fair. A lot of notes. So we already talked about the penalties. Steve Phelps was named commissioner of NASCAR, and Steve O'Donnell is now the president. I don't think this matters to me. I don't know about you guys, but I can't say I give it two shits.
The commissioner bit is interesting because a big focus of that job is cultivating the international market. So, I mean, obviously they're going to Mexico. NASCAR has eyes on Canada. They have a bunch of different series all around the world, which I would imagine they would hope to turn into feeder series into the Big Cup series at some point. So I think NASCAR is kind of looking at the situation in front of them, and they kind of realize they have to plan for the future. And not just the immediate 10 years, we're talking 50, 100 years. And I think that this is probably where that is leading, because there's no secret they want to expand internationally.
Well, they're probably going to have to wait to do a lot of that planning till whenever Trump gets out of office, because I don't think too many other countries are going to want to do a whole lot of work with us. And I don't know if I'd want to ship my cars across continents.
Well, the not United Arab Emirates, is it Saudi Arabia? There was supposed to be a Middle Eastern series. I'm sure the oil country NASCAR series will do just fine.
Let's not take any blood money.
Yeah.
Let's not do that.
We can and we will.
But sports, that whole sports washing shit sucks. And it not to say it failed with Live Golf, but I mean, they got a lot of shit for that. And I can't imagine NASCAR fans will be too excited, but we'll see what happens with all that.
I don't want to wake up at 3 a.m. to watch
God, no.
a NASCAR race.
And I won't. So. But yeah, I mean, again, the seeds are being sown for some sort of more international presence, and I think with how uncertain the automotive industry is, what racing is going to look like, having organizations outside of your own organization sort of being the backbone of your feeder system up into a certain point, probably has NASCAR thinking about ways to make it work. And I feel like international expansion is something that they're probably really seriously talking about to an even greater extent than what we've seen behind closed doors. And to me, this is just kind of another little feather in that that possibility.
It's fair. Anyways, so Carson Kvapil wants to fix you a drink,
Yes,
which
he
none of
does.
us realized he was 21 years old.
Boy, I saw that ad pop up. So High Rock Vodka, which
Shock
is
of the week.
High Rock Vodka, which is Dale Jr.'s vodka distillery. Do you distill vodka? Yeah. Whatever it is, whatever vodka Junior makes. Of course, they sponsor cars here and there. They've got Landon Huffman's car and the Cars Tour, all high rock wrapped. And Carson Kvapil is the latest in the line of drivers to sell Junior's swill. I actually don't know if it's bad or not. It could be good vodka. I haven't tried it.
Vodka's pretty hard to be bad. Like, it's one of those liquors that, like, they all taste the same. So.
Just put some fucking horseradish and tomato juice in there, and you've got a good situation. So
Yeah.
But anyway, Carson Kvapil being the next guy. Again, none of us really knew he was even old enough to drink. I certainly thought he was like
poured a
19.
strong drink too.
Yeah, the video is so funny. It's just this straight-on shot of him with the stone face, just trying to look like I don't even know what you would describe it as, the most interesting man in the world type stare, just pouring you a full tumbler of vodka. And then holding it up to the camera like he did something for you, which in my case I would accept it. But But yeah, Carson Quapple wants to pour you a drink, and you can go see him do it at Bristol.
The car looks good.
It does look good. Yeah, the High Rock branding is really good for a stock car. I'm sure Dale Jr.'s involvement in this has something to do with why the cars look as good as they do.
Well, speaking of paint schemes, so obviously Darlington is this weekend, and throwbacks are all the talk.
This is my favorite one.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite ones so far. Ty Dillon is going to be throwing back to Patty Moise's Beaver Street Foods car from 1989, which
Beaver Street Fisheries. Let's
Beaver
get it
Street
right.
Fisheries.
Well,
I'm looking at the tweet. The tweet says Beaver Street
The
Foods.
original car did say Beaver Street Foods on it.
Yes.
But now, I guess it's the same company, but now they're just they've changed the name to Fisheries. I don't really understand.
Well, the tweet says that the same family currently supports Ty Dillon under the Sea Best Seafood line, so that's why it's Beaver Street Fisheries. Which again, it's pretty much the same sponsor, and it's the exact same paint scheme. Which any exact direct throwback with the old sponsor automatically jumps up to the top of the list for me. And as Ashley pointed out, a woman driving a car with beaver on it is
Beaver Street.
ridiculous.
Beaver Street.
Yeah.
Y'all think that remember that video you sent us, True Love, of the Childresses all sitting around eating dolphin and shit? you think that came from Beaver Street?
Why no? Beaver Street Fisheries.
Could have. Now
we got dolphin.
Now there's a note here with our favorite throwback schemes, and I'm kind of struggling to think of any that really jump out at me.
For me, I was looking at Darlington. Their website does a fan vote for your favorite every year, so I just went on there and looked at the Xfinity list and then the Cup list. On there, it showed 19 cars for Xfinity Series have throwbacks, and then 16 for Cup.
Yep.
But
I'm looking.
I think my favorite for Xfinity is probably Parker Retzlaff's Kodak car, because that thing is spot on.
As an Ernie guy, and not even just Ernie, that Morgan McClure car,
iconic.
One of my favorite cars. Yeah,
and it's so well done too. It's not a homage like a lot of these schemes are. It's actually it looks like the fucking car, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I really like the Alpha Prime Ricky Rudd Haviland throwback, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. It's not my favorite Haviland paint scheme.
Me either.
But they did it very well. I'll give them that.
Mason Massey has a great Noble Winston scheme.
Yep.
And Leland Honeyman has the Nestle.
Oh yeah,
throwback.
that's
I don't know
right.
if y'all saw that one.
That's a good one. I like Jeremy Clements' car. That's good.
The skull throwback. Yeah, that's good.
The
Xfinity Series clearly does a better job at this.
Yeah, well, as was pointed out, especially in the Xfinity Series, some of these sponsors that aren't as don't throw as much money at these teams. They're a little more open for input as far as paint schemes go, and most of them are great. I mean, I'm looking now, and there's just tons of them that are really good. Christopher Bell's got the who's he throwing back to? Which sprint car driver?
Rick Ferkel.
Ferkel?
There you go. Yep.
Yeah, one of the original Outlaws from the 70s. And I guess some sort of a mentor to Christopher Bell. I didn't realize that, but Rick Ferkel is a legend, and it's really cool to see. Again, I have mixed feelings about throwbacks that go outside of the sport. You kind of want to see NASCAR cars out there.
Yeah.
And not to mention it's hard to translate, particularly a sprint car to a NASCAR Cup car.
That and Josh Berry's Wood Brothers scheme. I mean, yes, it's a good representation, but it's also an Indy car from the 60s.
Exactly. And to be fair, this one is a little bit more of it's definitely an homage. It's more the number, that sort of thing. Obviously, DeWalt didn't sponsor Rick Ferkel, but I do appreciate that they did alter their logo to match the spirit of the scheme. Which that's what I like to see out of these big companies. If you're going to spend the money to sponsor a car in one of these throwback races, get into the spirit of it, because the fans will absolutely respond to that. And
Well, even Logano, like he's doing a Cale Yarborough scheme, and they're using the old Shell and Pennzoil logos too, which looks good.
it's killer. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's some good ones for sure.
Yeah, everybody at Hendrick, but Chase is bringing a pretty good one. Again, the Kyle Larson, Terry Labonte throwback that I did not announce last episode out of turn. It wasn't me. It looks as advertised. That reveal was pretty cool, having both cars sit out there on track with Terry and then pulling the covers off at the same time. I really thought that was a neat way to do it.
I just wish they did something different on the hood.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody mentioned they should have
Rick's
done like
face on it or something.
caricature of Rick. Although I like the got cars on the side instead of got milk. That's neat. So
Yeah. It's,
I don't know.
looking forward to seeing it all in person. That's for sure. And all the merch that I don't want to buy, but we'll probably get drunk and buy as a result
Make
of
sure
this.
you get a Beaver Street shirt.
I will.
I am willing to bet there won't be one there. Like
I'll buy a Ty Dillon shirt
honestly,
if I can get that.
especially the smaller teams, like there's little to no throwback merch at these races, unfortunately. You'll see like Hendrick stuff, but probably not going to find a Ty shirt there.
Yeah. There might be a couple Dale Jr. JRM shirts. Leland Honeyman did do a shirt for his Nestle throwback that looks real good. So
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, you got this merch note here. Speaking of which, so I ended up with. I accidentally bought this. It was part of a lot of some other shit, but I got one of those 2024 championship hats for Ryan Blaney, which everybody jokes about those things getting sent off to Africa and stuff, which they do, but at least with the NASCAR stuff the last 2 years, a lot of that stuff pops up on eBay more often than you would think. And I ended up sending it to my buddy Isaac out in Wisconsin because he collects those things. And it was the one hat of last year's 3 losers that he didn't have. And, so I figured he should have it because I don't give a shit about it. But
interesting
they're
thing
out
to
there.
collect.
It is, yeah. Before it gets on the shipping container.
Yeah.
Speaking of shipping containers.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of shipping containers, a couple of V8 Supercars teams had a little trouble shipping their cars over to New Zealand for this weekend's round. They just fell off the boat. And there's a photo on Twitter of Triple Eight Racing and Tickford's big shipping containers just laying in the ocean. So that's
brutal.
I don't know how you get that back. I don't know what happens to the stuff in there, but
Even if you get it back, everything in there is so fucked.
yeah, and these are not small teams by any means. Cam Waters drives for Tickford, and I forget who drives for Triple Eight, but that's the Red Bull team. Big time teams in supercars. So curious to see how you get the backups over there, and if you choose a ship again. And leave the opportunity open for the funniest possible thing to happen. But yeah, good luck to those guys. We'll post the photo of this because it really is it's something. Yeah.
All right, what's next? Oh, this is one that I don't know a ton about. So Rob, maybe you can inform me a bit more.
Yeah, I didn't hear this
Racer Magazine purchased Mav TV.
Yeah, so the Racer Group bought Mav TV. Of course, if you're familiar with second tier cable, you have Mav TV. They do a lot of broadcasting. It's a lot of restoration kind of stuff and just general car stuff. But they do show a lot of short track racing, a lot of off-road racing. The Chili Bowl has been broadcast on the A-Main, at least has been broadcast on there for many years. And Racer Magazine, which of course they don't really focus on much short track stuff or any of the things that Mav TV currently focuses on, but they are very good at covering Formula One, IndyCar in particular. Of course, that's where Robin Miller wrote for the last years of his life. Marshall Pruitt's over there. If you want IndyCar news, you go to Racer, essentially. And it's a beautiful magazine, one of the few actual print magazines you can still get regarding racing. There's a few of them, but this one is certainly probably the highest quality one, especially coming out of the U.S., and they do great work, and they've decided to buy Mav TV and have a network that's devoted to racing. So I don't know what that's going to look like. My only concern is that since they don't cover a lot of the short track stuff that Mav TV currently does, that sadly some of those things might get lost in the mix. But if they're doing a speed channel type thing, like it sounds like they might, who knows? And I don't know how much of the Mav TV team they're going to keep around. but there's a lot of good shit on that channel, and this is very exciting news to actually have a full-on dedicated racing channel on cable again. So look forward to it.
It's funny because I don't know if Mav TV is on YouTube, but when I go to my parents' house, my stepdad usually throws it on. I remember watching some like Racers Roundtable there, and it was pretty entertaining. So
there's a couple. They have like a Tubi or a fucking Pluto channel as well. That's just available for free. Then there's the actual cable network that will show Lucas Oil late models, that sort of thing. The Flow broadcasts are all in conjunction with Mav TV, and they end up on there eventually at some point. So very curious to see how that works out, if there actually is a partnership between Flow and Racer coming up. You might be able to see a lot more short track content on there if they choose to do it. Speaking of which, this isn't on the notes here, but the Cars Tour just announced today that they're going to be broadcasting their race from North Wilkesboro on FS1, which is fucking huge.
Awesome. Yeah.
That's huge news.
It's in conjunction with Flow, and you can still watch on Flow if you want to, but it'll be on big TV, which is
We're
good.
gonna have Harvick and Dale Jr. in the booth, which is gonna be great too.
The fact that they can't get the fucking modified tour on live TV, but the Cars Tour can come in and do it is beyond me, but whatever.
Well, I mean, come on. You know why. You know why Cars TV or Cars is on TV. We all know why.
Yeah. It's because they all love Minnie Terrell so much.
That went right over my head. Yeah. No idea what that means.
I'll teach you about it in the septic tank in a few minutes.
Okay. A couple other little notes here. The Indy Motor Speedway Museum reopened after being closed for a few years.
Yes, it did.
I'm bummed I didn't get to go the one time I went to Indy, but I love museums in general, especially if they got race cars in them. So it's definitely something that whenever I get back there, I plan on checking that out for sure.
Yeah, I never got to go to that one either, but apparently it was incredible. Just the collection they have there. Mm-hmm. So I can't imagine what they've got in there now. I've seen some pictures. It looks badass, and I cannot wait to see it at some point.
Yeah, if you're going to be closed for a couple years, it better be amazing when you reopen.
Yeah.
So.
And this was something that I got into with some people on social media yet again. I've been a little, rabble-rouser lately on social media.
Imagine that.
But,
I missed this one.
So the good old Trump tariffs are going to be announced tomorrow.
That wasn't what I was laughing at.
And part of the tariffs was announced from Lionel over the weekend. They are going to be imposing a 5% tariff on for consumers and a 9% tariff for the wholesalers. So the wholesalers are going to take a little more of the cut on that, but. This elicited, probably the two responses you would think. I mean, a lot of fans were like, "Oh, I'm just not going to buy these pieces of shit anymore because they're not even good quality to begin with."
That's me.
And the other ones, and then the other ones were, well, they should be made in America, and it's like
it's also me, but
it's one of those things where it's like, again, I'm not someone who's against American manufacturing or anything like that, but I tried to express this to some people. Like, I have experience with Asian manufacturing. Like, I worked in the bicycle industry for many years.
Right.
Every company I've worked for, 99% of our products are made in Asia. And there's a reason for that. And, we don't need to get too deep into the political talk here with the tariffs and all that bullshit. But to think that this is just all of a sudden, well, somebody's going to step up to the plate and open a factory. That's not how it's going to work, folks. We're all going to pay for it. And maybe somebody eventually will figure it out, but probably not. Probably just all going to get used to paying more for shit. So
I'm certainly not against the idea. The spirit of it is right, but it takes many years to set up a manufacturing base to get something like this done. And it's a bunch of different industries that are being relied on. Yeah, the Action Factory is in Charlotte, and why don't they open that back up? Because you got to rehire people, you got to buy all the machines again, you got to find a place to get all these materials inside the U.S., and we're just not there yet because we've completely stripped our ability to make anything here and send it overseas for so we can pay less, I guess. Which I don't know if you've been to the Lionel store or not, but it doesn't seem like less to me already. So.
I mean, I can tell you this from personal experience working in the bike industry. There was a point, and this was 12, 13 years ago now, but, the company I worked for, we wanted to start making some parts in the U.S. again. And really basic parts, like stuff that's literally like sprockets and stems and stuff that are just literally just machined blocks of aluminum. And we could not find manufacturers that were cost effective, timely, or actually produce the stuff at specs that we wanted. So like, and that's just us making, you know, a couple hundred bike parts.
Yeah.
Like, to think that all of a sudden you can just flip a switch overnight and like, oh, we can just do it all here. It's not how it works.
Yeah,
and if you're
unfortunately
not,
not.
you know, so many people are just blind to that. And, you know, again, it would be great if a lot of this stuff came back, but it's not going to happen this way. So just enjoy paying more, because you're going to with just about everything in life.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree. I really hope that this would open up. And I think I've seen some people express this online, that they wish that maybe some other companies would step up and start making this stuff. The problem is exclusive licensing.
Yeah.
So it's not like, you know, the three of us can open up Applebee's fucking diecasts and, you know, sell them, because we don't have the rights to do it legally. Because NASCAR already has a deal with Lionel. They have a deal with Fanatics and all these fucking giant companies. And
not to mention the fact it's not the 90s anymore, and the demand for these products isn't what it used to be. So like, yeah, in the 90s you had racing champions, you had action, you had a few Hot Wheels, you had a few people making diecasts. Well, none of that's there anymore. It's just not going to happen.
I mean, Hot Wheels are made in China always, so.
Of course, but I'm saying the licensing
Yeah, exactly.
was all there, you know. So it's
It's a
just
shame.
get used to paying more, folks. But anyways, let's move on to
this next one's what I was laughing at.
yeah, this
This is one that I added.
yeah.
Well, I'm not going to read what I wrote.
I'll read it.
Yeah, I was gonna
NASCAR appeals to autistic fan base with train ride to Rockingham. So this was brought up in the media a bunch of different times. You know, NASCAR returning to Rockingham. Everybody's excited about that, and I guess there's going to be trains from Raleigh to Rockingham if you want to just commute that way. So that's cool. I mean, for those down there, I mean, why the hell not? I'd much rather probably take a train than drive and deal with all that bullshit.
Oh yeah,
but,
it's great. You can drink. You can, you know, you don't got to worry about parking. I mean, I've done the bolt bus. What is it called? Rally bus thing before, to go to Loudon.
Yeah, I've done that before.
It's cool. It's great to have an option where you don't have to drive up there and deal with the mess, and you can kind of relax a little bit. So and everyone loves a train ride. So
I had looked into it, and it's through Amtrak. They're only picking up people in Raleigh, Cary, and Southern Pines, and it's just one train there and one train back. So if you miss the train, you're just shit out of luck.
Well, I'm very excited to hear from all the people that missed the train on
Yeah, because it arrives at 11 a.m., but it departs at 7:30. And I was looking, and the race starts at 4. So if there's like an abundance of cautions,
really cutting it fucking close
you
there.
are
Good
really
Lord.
cutting it close.
yeah, that's how the rally bus is too. Yeah, an hour after the race. Yeah.
I was talking to a friend of the program, Buddy, who lives in Raleigh, and I asked him if he's going to take the train, and he said he's thinking about it. So we might have a firsthand experience.
Well, while I don't, you know, because I like him, I hope he doesn't miss a train. I also hope he misses the train, because I want to hear what happens after.
Just for the sake of comedy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's $25 there and $25 back. So.
It's not bad.
Yeah,
it's
not bad at all.
I would probably do that if I lived in Raleigh, Cary, or the other place. So
Yeah.
whatever.
All right, so
Make sure you set your alarm to get back to the train in time.
all right, so before we dive into the septic tank, we got a couple fan questions this week.
Yes, we do.
And the first one from Matty Teasley. He asks, "Do you think Andy Newsom is wearing a shirt today?" I'm assuming he sent that on Sunday, and I'm assuming he wasn't wearing. He was.
He had a shirt on with a, at least for a little while, he had a shirt with a denim vest on.
I think he was shirtless on Saturday.
Yeah.
I saw a picture of him. He was shirtless, but he still had the vest on, because he always has the vest on. And he had his arms around 2 police officers up very close.
Yeah.
So.
I also watched him eat a hot dog in a single bite on Instagram, which they're not that big. You can do it.
Yeah.
Those things are 2-3 bites at best.
He also, I saw he posted, I haven't been able to shut up about this, but he posted a breakfast sandwich that he made one of the mornings. It was a Spam and egg sandwich, and that thing looks so good.
Oh my God, that's so good.
It looked like it would cure a million hangovers in 5 seconds.
The Spam and egg sandwich is really a thing to behold. I fuck with that.
Next question from Stephen Kent. This is a good one. Would you rather fight 100 duck-sized Ty Gibbs or a horse-sized Tyler Reddick? I mean, ducks all day, man. You can just stomp on those things.
Yeah.
I'm not fighting a horse.
And you get some meat out of it, too. You can comfy it. You can do all sorts of shit. Yeah, I'm definitely going with ducks on this one. How about you, True Love?
Yeah, same. Ducks.
Yeah.
Unless they all have little Ty Gibbs tails on them. And wrap you up in those.
And then the final one, which I don't have a good answer to, maybe True Love does, but I don't think so because I don't remember much. But Stephen Kent also asks, best places to go eat or drink after the race near North Wilkesboro. And I don't remember anything.
Yeah.
There's some stuff in the town, but
It's slim pickings. So, Steven, I've talked to him a little bit. He lives in the UK, so I guess he's coming over for the All-Star race.
great dude.
Yeah.
Man, you could have picked a better race. No, much as I love North Wilkesboro, but I mean, geez.
Well, I mean, if you've never been
If you've never
there,
been,
just
it's
to
an
experience
experience.
it. Yeah.
And he's been to plenty of races before, too, so it's not like this
Yeah.
is the first NASCAR race or anything.
Oh,
so.
okay.
Right.
And that's fine.
Yeah, so as far as food options, there's not much, especially that's open on Sunday. You're going to have to drive to downtown Wilkesboro. Now, there's a North Wilkesboro, and then there's a Wilkesboro next to it. I think they have a little bit of beef against each other, but it's like 10 minutes from the track. The only places that I have gone there is there's this place called Dooley's that we ate at. It's just your typical American-style bar food. I think I was real hungover there one morning, and we ran into Bob Pockris. And then right across the street from Dooley's is a place called Two Boroughs Brewery, which is a pizza place, and they also make a beer called Neon Lager that sponsors Dylan Wilson in the car store. So
Oh, yeah.
a little bit of racing relation there.
Yeah. I would also like to, speaking of racing related families, Call Family Distillery is there. The Call family, of course, are legendary moonshine makers from the area. They have a deep history with the racetrack, and they've got a place set up not too far from the racetrack. I met those guys when we snuck in like 10 years ago, and they were super gracious, super fun to hang out with. The place hadn't opened yet at that point, but they were telling us about what it was going to be like and the stuff they were going to do, and it is open now. Apparently the liquor's pretty good. I don't know how, on the scale of 1 to Pigeon Forge, their moonshine tours are. If you even know what that means, buddy, but but it's definitely worth the spot. They have some deep roots there. They're up there with Junior Johnson when it comes to the liquor game, so I'd go check them out.
I'm pretty sure they're who sponsored that hidden speakeasy that they have at the track that me and Brian went to.
It wasn't Paul the groundskeeper too? Paul Call, the patriarch of the family? Or am I getting some stuff mixed up there?
Could be.
Yeah.
I remember having a little of that moonshine. It was pretty good.
Yeah. They do good work, and again, they've it's not going to be the high test stuff that was getting run back in the day, I don't think, because it's all regulated. But giving those guys money is not a bad thing. So that'd be my recommendation.
Yeah. Cool. Well, with that, it is time to dive into the septic tank.
Yeah, it's a cold one this week. My body temperature is still not fully adjusted after a Saturday at Thompson International, about 20 minutes south of my house. Of course, I went down there for the, I don't even know what annual it was, 62nd annual Icebreaker? I don't know. 70, who knows? They've done it a long time. And a lot of them have been cold. That's the thing about the Icebreaker. It's the first big event of the year in New England. And it always happens usually the beginning of April, either the first or second week. This year they decided to do it in March for reasons unknown. But the thing about New England spring is that it's either absolutely beautiful and 70 degrees or it's just fucking freezing. And in the past week we've had both. And naturally the weekend of the Icebreaker, the weather was forecasted to turn and be no warmer than 45 or something like that the entire time. Anyway, I digress. On Thursday, NASCAR announced that the Wheel and Modified Tour race that was scheduled for Sunday was not going to be taking place due to the weather forecast being so grim, so they moved it to the following weekend. Sucks for me because I wanted to see that, but whatever. I still had Saturday to get to, so... but of course, the weather forecast flipped after they did this, so now it's supposed to rain on Saturday and be fine on Sunday, so that fucking rules. But anyway, I gotta really shout out, and I've done this on the show every time I talk about an event that's put on by the American Canadian Tour guys. They do such a good job of running a tight show when they're up against adversity, figuring out a way to get it done, and that's exactly what they did on Saturday. They scrapped a lot of the heats and practice and shit like that, augmented the program, were able to get the entire show in, which I saw probably the majority of it. Features started around noon. I was out of there about 4 o'clock after the fucking street stocks wrecked for the 18th time or some shit, which we'll get to in a little bit. Of course, Past Tour was the first big feature, big late model series up here. Not so big these days. Car count's been a little rough at some of these events. The bigger shows like Oxford 250, they still draw a good amount, but sadly there's only about 12 or 13 cars there. But it was a stout field, and Trevor Sanborn picked up the win on account of Eddie McDonald and Derek Griffith both having really shitty days. Eddie Mack, I don't know if he lost a tire or what happened, but he just kind of sailed up into the turn one wall and pancaked the right side. And Derek Griffith absolutely destroyed his car because it's made of tinfoil and toothpicks, I guess. Got crossed up in turn 2 and just absolutely bent the front of that frame in a very bad way. So sucks for him. I'm a big Derek Griffith fan like everyone else up here, but Trevor Sanborn was there to pick up the pieces and win with the third place car. His words, not mine. Michael Scarzelli probably had the biggest hit of the weekend. Of course, they run heat races to qualify in the Past Tour, even though there's only 12 cars there. Him and Jeremy Sorrell got into it in turn 3, and it was definitely the hardest wreck of the weekend, and that car is never going to be bent back into anything that resembles a car because it was fucking brutal. Maybe I'll send you guys a video of it so you can see it, but it was loud. It scared the shit out of me because I was looking down at my phone and it was right there. So, but yeah, rough day for them. The big show of the day, of course, for most people and myself included, is the Tri-Track Modifieds. My favorite modified tour out of all of them. They draw a bunch of cars, a lot of big-time talent. Unfortunately, Matt Hirschman, being one of the big names on the tour, he decided to not make the haul up on Saturday for the race because of the forecast. I guess he comes from about 5 hours away, and his team comes from about 5 hours north of there. So everyone kind of meeting in the middle on a day where it's supposed to rain all day. Probably not the best line of fit for your wallet, especially if you're just going to get rained out. Fortunately, they did get it in. Ron Silk put on an absolute clinic. Had the fastest car in time trials. I think there was some sort of invert or something. I'm not really sure how this worked out, but he ended up starting 9th, but methodically made his way up to the front and picked up a win, showing everybody that he's definitely one of the 3 best out there right now. The other 2 being Justin Bonsignor and, of course, Matt Hirschman, who did not show up, which was a bummer because I was looking forward to watching that. Luke Baldwin, of course, flew up from Martinsville to run in Ryan Priest's modified. Had a real rough day. I don't really know what was going on with him.
Sammy Smith slump.
Yeah, I'm sure Sammy Smith had something to do with it, but no, it was I don't know. It was definitely an issue with the car itself. They pulled in pretty early on about lap 5 or 6 and into the pits and did some work on it, and he was multiple laps down all day, which was a bummer. So yeah, 2 rough days in a row for old Luke Baldwin, but they'll figure it out. They'll be fine. The entire street stock feature got parked after 9 laps due to rough driving, which was something I've never seen before.
Wow.
They wrecked 3 times.
How many laps was it supposed to be?
50. And they were up against rain, and they said, you know what? You guys are done. You're going to come back out later once you've calmed down, and all of you get off the fucking track. And that's what they did.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's amazing.
They parked the whole thing. I don't know who won that. Who gives a shit? I also watched a sport truck feature for a little bit. But my weather app was telling me that rain was 20 minutes away. And I tell you what, I don't mind being cold at the racetrack. I can put up with it. It's fine. I don't necessarily mind being really hot at the racetrack either. I can deal with it. Or excuse me, wet. I don't like being hot. Fuck that. But cold and wet, the combination, that's not something I'm going to try and do. So I made the decision to cut out of there before the Crown Vic division, which was super entertaining, by the way. That's starting to blow up here in New England. I don't know if it's the Cletus McFarlane effect or not, but the heat races we saw for the Crown Vics were super fun. It was probably the best race of the day, to be honest with you. But yeah, great day at Thompson. Which ended with me getting to see one more wreck with my elderly neighbor backing into our neighbor's car out in the street as I was watching the Xfinity race. So one last little bit of carnage coming out of the Icebreaker weekend, or at least Icebreaker day number 1. But yeah, what's your opinion? Would you guys rather be really cold or really hot at a racetrack?
I'd rather be
hot.
Really cold.
Yeah,
I'd be hot. I can't stand being cold. I've done both, and I'd much rather be hot.
Yeah, I think I'm a fan of the cold just because I can always layer up, which I did have to do. It was brutal. Again, I left my house on Saturday. It was, high 40s. I was like, this is manageable. I can do this. By the time I got to the racetrack, the temperature had dropped about 10 degrees, and the wind had come in, so the wind chill was like 29. And I sat there in my chair and just turned into a fucking popsicle, me and the other 80 people that realized that something was happening at Thompson that day.
It was brutally cold at Bowman Gray this February, and I wish I had layered better because I think that would have helped a lot. But no, I can't stand being hot at the racetrack, even though most of the races I go to are brutally hot. And I know that I dress like a dickhead at the racetrack on the heat too, which doesn't do me any favors, but
yeah, you can't.
I'm not built for the heat. And there's something about extreme heat too where my body won't even let me drink beer because it's like physically it's like, no, you're not putting that in your body.
That's heat stroke.
You need to pick up water or a Gatorade, but I'm not swallowing that beer, so
yeah,
I'd rather be cold.
Yeah, brutal. But again, shout out to the American Canadian Tour guys, Tom Mayberry, and I forget the other dude's name, but they do great work, and kudos to them for continuing to keep the Thompson Oval open and vibrant, and the car counts are getting better for all these little divisions they have there, so they're starting to build a weekly program back up, and I'm looking forward to supporting as many weeks as I can over the summer. And yeah, Thompson is a piece of history. It's in the NASCAR Hall of Fame. It's been here longer than most racetracks. It's, I would say, even longer than Martinsville, I think. Like, it's one of the original ones. The Indianapolis of the East is what it was called. And they really, anything they could do to keep that place open, I'll be there to support it. And I'm happy to see that continue. But anyway, once I got home, there was a whole boatload of racing for me to watch. Of course, the Xfinity race, we already discussed at length. But there was a bunch of shit on Saturday night. The Nippy 50 at Maquoketa. Of course, that's the Mars Late Model Series. I had mentioned last week that this race... it's kind of the only thing happening in the dirt late model world this weekend. Of course, Lucas Oil and World of Outlaws are both having off weeks. So you do get to see some big names there, and that was definitely the case this weekend. Bobby Pierce was on the property, Brandon Shepard, Ricky Thornton Jr., Brandon Overton in the House Longhorn car was there, Garrett Alberson, just a bunch of guys. Noticeably absent was Jonathan Davenport, but I don't think that's any surprise because he doesn't really do a lot of these one-off events unless it's Eldora. But Bobby Pierce put on a show both nights, absolutely whooped him. RTJ was the only guy who came close, particularly on Saturday night. RTJ was chasing Pierce down towards the end of the race until he dropped his right rear over the cushion on the top side in turn 4 and lost all of his ground. And Bobby just, yeah, it was a hell of a show watching those guys rip the cushion all night. Brian Shirley and Garrett Alberson both got top 5s on both nights, which is to be expected. Both of those guys are having pretty good years so far, especially nice to see Squirrel have a nice series of runs here, especially after lighting himself on fire a few weeks ago. That was really scary to see, and it didn't seem to faze him at all because he's doing pretty damn good. Brandon Shepard and Ryan Gustin also had some strong showings this weekend, so shout out to them. Cars Tours at Wake County down in North Carolina, and Minnie Terrell picked up the win there. And that race wasn't a whole lot cleaner than the Xfinity race, but it wasn't as bad, that's for sure. But with that track, I don't know if you guys saw any highlights from that. It is a little tiny bull ring. It's about 2 lanes wide. Contact is guaranteed. and there was plenty of it. But Minion was able to lead all of the laps. I forget how many there were. I think it was 150. But he dominated that. And, of course, the big story, I think, is Landon Huffman being involved in a wreck and getting sent to the back even though he wasn't at fault. But, hey, those are the rules, I guess. So is what it is. Over in the sprint car side of things, High Limit was out at Central Arizona Speedway. Aaron Reitzel picking up another win on Friday night. And a repeat performance from Kern from the KKR guys with Brad Sweet and Casey Kane finishing 1-2. Casey Kane's on one, bud.
Ooh, Casey Kane.
It's Casey Kane time.
He's
Yeah.
coming. He's going to get him a win.
He might just. I mean, honestly, like, this is...
He could just park the other car that he owns for the weekend.
I mean, this is the most speed we've ever seen out of Casey Kane in a sprint car in some time. So, honestly, I think it's coming. You know, when you finish second every week, it's bound to happen at some point. So,
Unless you're Sheldon Creed.
Exactly, which will never happen. But
Which also gives me PTSD flashbacks of being a Casey Kane fan his rookie year, and he finished second a shit ton before he finally got a win.
Well, that was the curse of being a Larson fan in the early days in NASCAR, too. He loved coming in second, and that pissed me off. But, yep, Casey Kane carrying the torch for all those guys over in the High Limit Series. Speaking of High Limit, they were supposed to be in Vado, New Mexico tonight, but that got canceled due to high winds, as did the World of Outlaws show up at 81 Speedway in Wichita. That was kind of a bummer. Before we get into the actual Outlaw highlights, I want to give a shout out to Johnny Gibson, of course, the announcer of the World of Outlaws for, since 1995, I believe. Unfortunately, he suffered a health issue. Apparently, he has AFib, and he had a little bit of an episode before the race at Lawton. I'm sorry, in Wichita. He got the Lawton one in. I guess he got too excited about that race or whatever the Penguins were doing, because he had to go to the hospital and ended a streak of calling 2,357 World of Outlaw events in a row.
Jesus
Has not missed a
Christ.
single one. That goes back to 1995, folks. Dude has not missed a day on the job since 95. And here's the thing. Since the event at 81 Speedway in Wichita got postponed due to high winds, it technically means that he gets to call that race whenever they reschedule it. So technically the streak is not broken.
Well, that's good.
But Connor Wade, the pit reporter, did a decent job filling in for him. Definitely weird to watch any sort of outlaw action without Johnny Gibson on the mic. But get well soon. Whether you love him or hate him, you know, that work ethic is something else. It's something to behold. And to not miss work in about 30 years is fucking insane. So get well soon. And he should be back at Arrowhead this weekend. At Lawton on Friday night, let's see, I think who won that? Buddy Kofoid. I was going to say David Gravel because he wins everything, but Buddy Kofoid actually got a win there, so good for him in the Roth 83. This weekend, there is a good amount of short track racing. Again, season's in full swing. High Limit's going to be at Route 66 and Dodge City. World of Outlaws has a two-night stand at Arrowhead for the Jason Johnson Classic. That's actually sort of a home track for me. It's only about 40 minutes from my folks' place. I was going to try and get out there and see that this year, but these Darlington plans came into frame, and that's what I decided to do instead. USAC sprints are going to be at Paragon and Red Hill this weekend. World of Outlaw late models are at Atomic for 2 nights. The NASCAR Wheel of Modified Tour is supposed to be at Thompson for their event that got postponed from last Saturday, but it sounds like weather might be a factor again, and that'll probably happen sometime in fucking July or something just to make sure they get it in. And the Smart Tour is going to be at Orange County, which is just north of Raleigh, and there's a slight chance I might actually get to go see that one as well. So if I do end up at Orange County at the Smart Race, come say what's up. I'll be hanging out with Dillner and the boys, chilling. He's the one who invited me out if I can make it. So I'll be in the infield smoking cigarettes in people's trailers like they do down south. And I guess that's it for the septic tank. Again, I'm glad to be back in my oval outdoor season here. My year doesn't feel like it really starts until the Icebreaker happens. It just, for whatever reason, that's just my internal clock completely depends on when the Icebreaker happens. And to get that in, despite the cold circumstances, it rejuvenated me, and I'm really fucking excited to get out and see some racing this weekend with you, Brian, and hopefully the Smart Tour race if that pans out. So let's go ahead and flush her on down. Whoosh. Speaking of flushing, it was pretty cool since no one was at Thompson to get a whole trough to myself.
Oh, nice.
That was kind of neat to
Be
the king of the
splatter.
king of the castle.
You just walk up and down that whole trough.
Oh yeah, side to side, buddy. Well, speaking of Darlington, we got a good one coming up here with our video of the week.
Yeah, this was a fun one that I've seen a few times and wanted to talk about it on the show. But this was the 1998 Duraloop 200, which was the second race of the year at Darlington with the Busch Series. This race, we'll get to the finish at the end, but this is a pretty stacked lineup as far as both Cup drivers and rookies. I mean, you have Dale Jr. in his rookie year, along with Matt Kenseth, Tony Stewart, Dave Blaney. They're all in there. You've got Dale Jarrett, Mike Waltrip, Mark Martin, obviously, Dick Trickle. You've got guys like Mike McLaughlin, Andy Santerre, just a lot of different big names throughout the sport. And this was also in the midst of Mark McGuire's home run streak that year, and he actually had a car in the field being driven by Bobby Hillen.
Yep.
Who, that was a very weird, brief period of time where I got to go back and see how that deal all came together, because that's just a weird thing to think about. But the big story going into this race was the points battle and Dale Jr. starting in the back. Now this was it was the year after Darlington flipped the start-finish line. If you guys remember that, in 97, they switched the back stretch to the front stretch and vice versa. But at the same time, they were still pitting on the back stretch. Yeah. So Junior started 34th, obviously a horrible starting spot, which meant he had to park in the back, or pit on the back stretch. And there were 43 cars in the field, which is crazy to think about now, that even in the Busch Series back then, they had 43 cars.
They were sending people home, yeah.
Yeah. But this was a stacked lineup, and you had Benny Parsons, Jerry Punch, and Kyle Petty in the booth, which is a pretty good booth.
Very, very slick, tan-looking Kyle Petty up there.
Yeah. That pretty much covers most of what happened before the race started. First commercial break, we've got a goofy commercial featuring people lining up on a street to watch a Suzuki sport bike roll by. And then the first of many the first of many pork commercials. This one was a medieval-inspired commercial where basically they were having some feast, and the official food tester had to test this pork, and he pretended to die, and then when everybody ran out of the room, he just ate the feast himself. Yeah. And then the first of many Quaker State oil commercials featuring Dennis Leary doing his patented Dennis Leary tough guy bullshit that he used to do back in the day, shaming you into changing your oil and mentioning the uncle you guys don't talk about anymore. Dick Trickle, he's going to be a story throughout the race. He started fourth. This was he had 3 straight top 3 finishes at Darlington coming into this. At one point, they're running through the starting lineup, and Jerry just goes, "Action Lewis, a young man," and then just goes on to the next driver. I thought that was really funny. And Randy LaJoy ended up starting 43rd out of 43 cars.
I did notice that this video was uploaded by someone named Joe LaJoy. Mm-hmm. So,
interesting.
Too many LaJoys out there.
Too many LaJoys. Junior started out moving up pretty fast. I think he gained like 13 or 14 spots in the first 3 or 4 laps. The first of only a couple wrecks in the race was on lap 7 involving Lyndon Amick and Shane Hall, which this was a deal where Shane Hall basically wrecked himself. He got loose next to Hermie Sadler and crashed and took out Amick and also took out Mike Dillon, the father of the infamous Dillon brothers. I just had to make a note of that just because I wasn't as much of a Busch fan back in the day. Even as much as I love NASCAR, I didn't watch as many Busch races, and lately I've been going back and watching a lot of the 90s ones. And
they're all really good.
They're all really good, and Mike Dillon does not do good in many of them.
Too many dads.
Yeah, too many dads.
The NASCAR Fathers series.
This was also still when you could race back to the caution flag, so Junior was able to get himself up to, I think, 23rd, or maybe 19th.
Sorry, speaking of dads, it was also Dave Blaney's rookie season.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I mentioned him, but he's in there too. Second commercial break, this one probably features my favorite commercial of the whole thing. There was an ER on TNT commercial, but my favorite was one for MDS Computer Systems. This was one of the handful. Like, my favorite commercials are the local commercials, and this one was. It was basically a computer store that looked like it was in a condo, which was just
really
very funny. And then, again, granted, this was 1998. Their logo, the font was in Comic Sans. So I'm definitely going to cut out this commercial, and we'll put it on the post of the week. But
that was definitely my favorite ad as well.
And then there was some ESPN football one. One thing that I've noticed watching all these old races, and it always fascinates me, that these guys stay in the car while their cars are being worked on. I don't think anybody does that anymore, especially on a hot-ass day like I'm sure it was at Darlington. Like, it's wild to think about just sitting in your car stewing while people work on it.
Yeah.
That's what Shane Hall was doing. Okay, so Junior was up to 23rd at the restart. Mike McLaughlin was leading the majority of the beginning of the race, but Mark Martin, of course, he was dominant in the Busch Series, especially at Darlington, and he was kind of moving his way up through the pack. We see Jason Keller get in the wall and start falling backwards, and then we see a little inset interview with Lyndon Amick, and really the main note here is his bowl cut. Very 90s bowl cut on Lyndon at this point. And this was his very short-lived NASCAR career before he went, and I think he joined the military or something after this, right? Like, I can't remember that Junior interview he did, but he raced for a while, and then he went to the military for whatever reason. Let's see, the next commercial break, we see another Dennis Leary ad. This time he's hammering pistons for some reason. There is
change your oil, pussy, is basically the theme.
There's a very odd McDonald's Big Mac vacation wrap commercial that gets played a few different times. And then this is probably my other favorite commercial. There is a NASCAR ESPN ride-along program commercial with Terry Labonte, and he's got one of those almost like Jack Hanna type, exotic animal wranglers that would appear on, David Letterman and all those shows back in the day. And it's a woman in the car, and she ends up dropping a weasel, and which leads Terry to saying, "Okay, there's a weasel in my lap." And I had to go back and listen to this a handful of times. Yeah. I'm pretty sure she says shit in the commercial. She says shoot, but then the second time she says it again, it sounds like shit. And I thought that was really funny. That was in the commercial.
Yeah. Well, there's a weasel in my lap.
Yep.
So deadpan. Exactly how, if you've heard Terry Labonte speak before, that's exactly how he would have said it.
Yeah.
If it was happening.
Lap 24, we see Buckshot Jones getting on the wall, and this doesn't lead to a caution, which we'll get to eventually, but it's definitely funny how NASCAR is so caution crazy now, and back then I remember I was watching a race the other night. It was one of the 95 Busch Series race from Charlotte, and somebody spins across the front stretch and flies in the air, does a full 360, and they don't throw a caution. It's insane. But yeah, Buckshot does the same thing as Shane Hall. He gets loose passing in the turn, overcorrects the car, and slams hard into the wall. And again, there's no caution. At this point, Mike McLaughlin is still leading, but Mark Martin is able to get him at lap 27, and then he's off. At this point, we're at lap 29. Dale Jr. is up to 12th. Buckshot gets interviewed. He says he was being too safe in passing and got loose. And Dick Trickle is still sticking up there in third. Next commercial break. A lot of these are just repeats, except for there's a Split Fire Spark Plugs ad with features Jim Yates's Split Fire Pro Stock car, and there's a TV reporter guy next to the racetrack, and as Jim Yates goes by, he blows off all of his clothes. Yep. So that was another good one. They were claiming the first round of pit stops were going to be around lap 50 or 55, but a lot of guys tried to stretch their tires out to lap 75, which was the halfway point, so they could go on only one pit stop throughout the entire race, which that didn't work out because there were a couple more cautions, but we'll get to that. Next commercial break, there is probably the two notable commercials. There's one for Leet Stevens Funeral Home, trying to get you to prepare for your funeral before you die. That's a dark one. And then there is
Not a bad plan,
dogs.
folks. You always want to have a plan.
I guess that's fair. And then there's an ESPN football ad with dogs playing poker, and one of the dogs is played by one of my all-time favorite comedians, Gilbert Gottfried. Rest in peace, one of the greatest.
Absolutely.
Now we're at lap 65, and everybody's still staying out for the tires, although everybody's slowing down. Although some guys start pitting around lap 57. McLaughlin is in at 60. Kenseth is in at 62, and Mark Martin is sticking out there for halfway. Next commercial break, the only notable one, there is a PSA that's shown a few times about what to do when helping out with a car accident. Very dramatic commercial. Come back from caution, and the next notable thing is people are pitting, and Mikey Waltrip, his car falls off the jack, and then the pit guys can't get the right side rear tire off, so he had like a 40-second pit stop. So
Nice.
Good for Mikey. And then this is probably Ashley's favorite commercial. There's a Bill Elliott McDonald's commercial where there is a crew of McDonald's team members, not team members as far as the team members as far as like the McDonald's drive-through employees. They're sitting in the stands watching Bill have a rough day. Somehow they get from the stands to the pit stall to play Bill's pit crew, and during the pit stop, the old lady of the crew hands Bill some French fries.
That's great. That's a good one.
Again, not necessarily the most refreshing mid-race snack, but thanks, Meemaw.
And no protein, like a good old Martinsville hot dog.
That's true. And then there's
Salt
another
in
good.
there.
Yeah.
There's another good ad with Budweiser, where it's a bunch of like beer bottles partying in the backyard, and the O'Douls gets to be the designated driver for the party.
Perfect.
That's a good one too.
Come back from the commercial break. McLaughlin's back in the lead after pit stops. Blaze Alexander, rest in peace. He gets in the wall after contact with Dave Blaney and Dick Trickle.
He passed not long after this, if I remember correctly.
No, he was like 2001, 2002, I want to say.
Oh, okay.
Because I have a shirt from like 2000 where his car was sponsored by WCW. So
Right.
A few years after this. Next commercial break, there's a Haviland ad with Mario Andretti that's shown a few different times. And then there's a lot of ATV and motorcycle ads. There's one for Kawasaki in this one. At this point, we're at 45 laps to go. Mark Martin is moving back up and passes Matt Kenseth and Mike McLaughlin pretty easily with 40 to go. And they mention how good Mark is at taking care of his tires, which are obviously important at Darlington. Actually, this is another one of my favorite commercials. There's one for the Barning Institute of Tech, which is, like a Votech type school. And there's one particular guy with like wacky hair who at one point says, "I'm a teddy bear." And then I think someone's questioning why they haven't signed up for the school yet. And he goes, "You're a knucklehead." So that was another great one.
Yeah, that one was hilariously bad.
Yeah. We're at 34 to go, and Elton Sawyer spins out all by himself. There's your competition director at work. So he brings out the caution, and this allows everybody to pit one more time. Let's see here. Next, let's see, where am I at commercial-wise? There's nothing interesting commercial-wise here. After the last pit stop, there's one of Mike McLaughlin's crew members eats shit while pushing the car out of the pit stall. And Junior's crew is pissed because the pace car was slow and it slowed them down on pit road or something, but it was under caution, so as Kyle Petty pointed out, it didn't really matter.
The best part about that crew guy falling was Benny Parsons' like evil laugh.
Yeah.
Eating shit. He was like, "That's why you're not supposed to push the car," and then like evil laughter. It was great.
Let's see here. The restart, there's only 9 cars on the lead lap at this point, and even though Mark Martin was kind of dominating the race, at this point he's having some fuel pickup issues, which the guys in the booth think it's like some sort of ignition problems, but it was later told that it was something to do with vapor lock, which Kyle Petty goes, "I haven't heard of a car having vapor lock in 100 years. So that was a funny and weird problem to have. At this point, Junior's up to 8th. Dick Trickle takes the lead with 24 laps to go. Mark's car kind of picks back up, and he moves back up to 3rd. Next round of ads, there's a Hardee's ad where like a grandma is telling her kids about an uncle that played hide and seek and went missing for 50 years, and then he hears that and jumps up and from underneath the house and is like, I won. That was a weird one.
Such a weird commercial for roast beef.
Yeah, for roast beef sandwich of all fucking things. There is.
I don't remember Hardee's being known for their roast beef either. So
yeah, I thought it was an Arby's ad at first, but let's see. There is. Let's see here. There's one more caution with 17 to go. 2 cars wreck in 1 lap. Bobby Hillin spins all by himself on the front stretch, and then in one of the turns, Jeff Fuller backs it into the wall, so that calls for one more caution. At this point, Junior decides to jump in for a set of tires. Granted, it makes a whole lot of sense because there's only 9 cars in the lead lap, so he doesn't have too much ground to lose by doing this. And this obviously plays into at the very end. Another restart. Mark has the same issue, and this time it gets worse, so he's kind of out of the picture. We're at 10 to go, and Junior is moving up quick. He picks off pretty much everybody, a couple cars a lap. And then we're at 6 laps to go. Chad Little, Elton Sawyer, and Ed Barrier get together, and there's a caution. They don't throw a caution immediately. They wait like almost half a lap, and with 4 to go, they finally throw the caution, and there's a sprint to the finish between Dale Jr. and Dick Trickle. And if this race didn't end under caution, it would have been Junior's all day. But
yeah.
Dick Trickle was able to eke out the win by inches. Like, this was one of those like photo finishes that wasn't really played up as much as it should have. I think maybe it was because they were racing to the caution. But that was it.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I'd never even heard of this finish until I watched this race, so I'm a little surprised. This was Dick's second win, and he only won 2 races in the Xfinity Series, Busch Series, so this was his last one. And as was noted in the booth, the Sports Center guys are going to love the fact that Dick Trickle won at Darlington. For those who aren't as old as us, Dick Trickle's name was always brought up in the NASCAR reports, no matter where he finished, just because they love saying his name.
Yeah.
And I was surprised that he wasn't smoking a celebratory cigarette on his victory lap in the car. You would have thought that's something he would have done. He was asking his crew apparently where to go for Victory Lane because
Never
they
been.
had just swapped. Well, that and they had just swapped the start finish line, so he didn't know where the hell to go. His interview. Let's see. Benny Parsons said he was afraid that Dick was going to fall off the car when he was standing on the roof. Dick calls Darlington a short track, and he knew that Dale Jr. was going to get him, but thankfully he ran out of time. Junior's interview was good too. He just wanted to get past him without running into him. And the quote that I loved, he said he was proud to be sharing the same asphalt with the man. So wonderful quote from Junior about Dick Trickle. And that was it. That was the 98 Duralube 200. Any thoughts from y'all?
I mean, anytime you get to watch a Dick Trickle win on TV, it's a good thing. Arguably one of the greatest race car drivers of all time, even though his NASCAR stats don't necessarily show it. Honestly, I thought he had won a couple more than the 2 that he did. But I guess it was only 2. His other win came at Hickory a couple years earlier, and they mentioned that in the interview. But yeah, it's just, definitely an old man by NASCAR standards at this point. But to still see him get it done in that clean, quiet way that he always did was super, super cool, especially at a place like Darlington. And to have the young gun Dale Jr. coming for him at the end on video game mode because he had those tires was great.
Yeah, and he was less than half his age at this point, too, which is wild to think about.
I did think it was kind of cool that, of course, this is 1999 here, right? 98, yeah.
Yep.
So we're about 9 years removed from last week's video of the week, and some of the same guys who were running the modified tour are in this race up towards the front. Jeff Fuller, Mike McLaughlin. Pretty neat. So Steve Park had already got on the cup at this point, but yeah, definitely. Yeah. And
Which
also
one?
Shout out to the one we all, the only one. The Steve Park. Also, shout out to Andy Santerre, Maine racing legend and Busch Series regular from the time he's in this race. So it was kind of cool to see his name. But yeah, what a legendary bunch of guys. And this was sort of the golden era of this series, I guess, for me growing up. I started really heavily watching it when in like 92 when they were running those V6s that sounded like street stocks.
Yeah, those ones are tough to listen to or tough to watch. Like the engines.
But and then kind of fading into this period here where it still was a bunch of regulars in this series, older dudes. It wasn't quite the youth invasion we saw yet, but it also wasn't quite Cup guys winning the championship every single year. And when it was Mark Martin, and no one cared about that. So this is a great reminder, and again, definitely one of the lost great finishes. It certainly gets buried because of how it ended with the caution, but man, that run up to the flag was fucking incredible, and I wish we saw that in highlight reels a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a fun one to revisit. I'm sure I watched this one live as a kid, but had kind of forgotten how it all played out. And it was fun also to revisit like the prime Dale Jr. Busch era.
Yeah.
I had also forgotten how frequently all the announcers refer to him as either Little E, Little Earnhardt, or Little Dale. It's never his actual name.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole race. My only other notes, there was one commercial you didn't mention that I loved. It was one of the pork commercials. It was like the cartoon pigs in it. That was kind of fucked up.
Yep.
Yeah, which also had a guest appearance from the chef that I loved watching as a kid, Justin Wilson from Louisiana.
Oh, yeah.
Either one of y'all remember him?
Yeah.
No.
I can't recall who said this quote, but at the very end they said, this was like them signing off. They said, "The Dickster does Darlington." So.
That was Jerry. Jerry said that. Yeah, so that's video of the week, and we'll get to it in a second. But Rob and I have a very busy weekend,
yes, we do.
Very short videos of the week this week. I said this was going to be funny, and hopefully it is, but I don't remember, but we'll see. So just got two videos from Jeff Gordon hosting Saturday Night Live. So I couldn't think of I was like
whole episode.
No, that's the thing is
okay.
The whole episode's not on YouTube, and even I know I watched it then, and there weren't many good skits. I think they just posted the two. It's the monologue, and then there's like a career day one where Jeff plays a fighter pilot. So just the two skits. So it's only like 10 minutes. Again, we got a busy weekend, so we'll have a lot to talk about next week. So those are your videos of the week. And as mentioned, both Rob and I will be at Darlington this weekend.
That's right. The
I
Row
will
22 boys.
Yes, Row 22. If you are going Sunday, we will be at in Row 22 of the Pearson B Tower. Right at turn 4.
Wearing their matching Logano shirts.
That's not what I'm wearing. But that's where we'll be.
That's what you'll be wearing when you decide to come to the race last minute.
So feel free to hit us up, and I'm sure we'll be drinking and hanging out before the race on Sunday. Saturday, however, I'll be going solo, and I have an extra ticket. So if anybody listening wants a free ticket to the Xfinity race, the first person to DM us on Instagram will get the ticket. So
our gift to you on this 100th episode, or Brian's gift that I'm taking credit for in this moment.
I will happily take... I will happily take free beers in payment, but you don't have to pay me anything because I got them for free through the NASCAR Rewards program. So
there you go.
I got an extra one. So, but yeah, we'll be there all weekend, hanging out, and I'm very excited about it. As of right now, there's a chance of rain on Sunday, but hopefully there shouldn't be too many issues. I mean, they got lights and everything, and I think the chance of rain is worse on Monday, so hopefully they end up getting it on Sunday.
How it looks.
Yeah, so
I'm very excited. Again, Darlington was probably at the top of my list of NASCAR tracks that I have not been to. right up there with Bristol. So I'm over the moon to get to see this place. And it's one of these things, or one of these places where you go to a spot like Martinsville, right? It's old, it has a lot of history, but it's really been modernized. It feels like a newer track, even though it's been there since the 40s or whenever, But Darlington still kind of retains that, at least on television anyway, it retains that old school feel. And it's just due to the shape of the track, how there's so much asphalt, but there's only 2 lanes really.
Yeah.
The grandstands, just everything about it. I know it's not, a dump from the 50s, but
No.
it seems to retain some of the spirit, whereas some of these other places like Bristol or Martinsville, at least from what I see on TV, have kind of lost through the modernization and the improvement of the facility. So I'm excited to see this place in person.
The grandstands and the bathrooms and everything, they're all fairly modern. So it's definitely, but yeah, the track itself and the look of it, everything, it definitely retains its look. So I love it. I mean, I've been going there now this will be my 13th year, I think, going. So I love the fact that it's my more or less local track now, since my parents live down there. So
yeah.
Very excited to get to hang out with you and Kyle and whoever else we'll see up there. So
I think there's a good amount of folks going to that. So the more the merrier. So yeah, if you're listening to this, please come say what's up to us. What's up to us? What's up to us? That's what I'm going to sound like after.
what's up to us.
Say what's up to us. And I'll get to experience going to a racetrack in a span of 7 days. At both 29 degrees and 87 degrees in humidity.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to that culture shock inside my body. It's going to be fun.
It's you and Brian's first NASCAR race together?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And we've only done dirt last year, so very excited. But yeah, I guess that's it. As always, you can follow us at Meet Me at Applebees on Instagram and Meet Me at the Bees on Twitter. Speedway screens and all the things. SpeedwayTSJ.etsy.com. Sales still going, so you don't need the discount code. And like I said, DM us for a free ticket from me. So that's it.
Yes.
I got nothing. It's still Snake Mountain True Love. I'll just be sitting at home alone, wishing I was at Darlington. unless it rains, and then
Then you win.
Wishing I was there.
Hell, you'll change your mind. Ramos _unofficial on Instagram. My band's called These Wild Plains. Nothing to report. Same old shit. Just excited to get to Darlington. Probably get to Darf around a little bit. I think my brother-in-law and I are going to go up to the Petty Museum. Check that out. I've never actually been there. I'm looking forward to seeing that hornet's nest that's in there for some reason.
Yeah, it's a fun visit for sure.
And like I said, slight chance I'll be at the Smart Tour race at Orange County. So I'll be sure to post something about that. But definitely at Darlington. And again, looking forward to seeing some of y'all out there. And thank you for listening to this podcast. Again, this is our 100th official episode. It doesn't feel like it. I look forward to doing this every week, and I hope you guys look forward to it, listening as much as we do to making it. And we've made some good friends through this and strengthened some friendships through this, particularly with the three of us. We talk all the time, and it's nice to be able to share our little brother and sisterhood with you, however the fuck you would quantify that. But it means a lot to me in particular. But yeah,
honor bros.
Yeah. But yes, thank you for the support, and we got plenty more coming down the pipe for you.
Yeah, it blows my mind that people actually listen to us.
Yeah.
Every week.
And then I like them.
Yes, thank you to everyone that suffers through us every week.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Cool. And with that, our check is here. So thanks for joining us again at Applebee's, and we'll talk to y'all next week.